So maybe when I threatened you guys with a finished painting very soon, what I should have said really is that the canvas will be covered very soon. And you saw that when it was covered. I think one of my titles, the last title might have been, or one of the last titles might have been a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe not, maybe I'm completely misremembering that. But sometimes the tunnel is longer than you think it is. So I came down today, it's a new week now, I've given it a break. I came down today and thought, okay, I have to do a lot of housekeeping on this painting. Very happy with it, but there are all kinds of little things, not details, but a few things I'd like to straighten out that will in general affect, I think, the quality of the scene. So I'll just point them out briefly here. So what I've done, I've started basically in the background and I'm working my way forward. I haven't touched any, well, that's not true. I've cut into this branch here, this bough a little bit. I laid a couple of highlights here and there. Not much. For the most part, I've done very little over here. I changed the profile of the tree line on this distant mass of land. This tree here is pretty much dead center, which is fine because this one's more important, a little bit to the right of center. But still, this is dead center, and I had another tree sitting right in behind here, coming from pretty much here down, and it almost lined up with this tree. So I had this long, very dark line because I wanted these trees to be in shadow. And it just kind of bothered me. I thought it would be more interesting if I removed it. So I removed the tree that was behind there and introduced the sky into it. Now we have more of a stepped down tree line as it sort of thins off and goes off to the left. I like that. I'm very happy with that improvement. I've laid light on the trees, painted in some trunks, sections of trunks. This distant stuff was very dark. I wanted to give it more of a textural feeling without painting individual trees, in the distance. So I laid in a few colors there. I'm not going to talk about the colors right now. This tree was kind of boring for me. I want it to remain somewhat unimportant, but I've only made it a little more important, a little more interesting. And of course finished the bits of greenery that are on it, what have you. Again, I've upped the ante on it. That's okay. I'm sort of playing my cards not fast and loose. I'm being kind of careful. Laid a bit of highlight here, a bit of highlight here, a little bit more light on the trunk. On the left-hand side of this trunk, it was a little too red for me, so I went over it with a little bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue and white. Made it a little bit bluer, which made it a little bit grayer actually, bringing it down. Here's where I want things to pop. So this body of the painting here will be quite interesting. A lot of fluttering and a lot of different shades of light and what have you going on, and better shapes or more interesting shapes here. This is where I want the eye to look around and find things really interesting. But it's full scale, top to bottom or top to 3/4 of the way down kind of thing. We come down to here. The most interesting area I want to be sort of mid-section. Not competing with that, but at least something. That's why I took more light, I put a little more light on these rocks, on this shore, and brought it right here, right off the painting. It's going to give this sort of effect, this teardrop, this horizontal teardrop effect of, this, and then we slowly work our way off this way. But having our majority of our light in the distance lay on these rocks. Pretty happy with that as well. This actually, now that I've put some light on those rocks, I feel like I'm allowed to take some of the lighter colors on this water and bring them across right almost off the painting. Very close to it anyways. I'm not going to touch this down here, I don't think, as far as light's concerned. But I like, these rocks, the value is a bit high now for, the rocks, the value on the rocks is a little high compared to the value here. So we'll bring that up a little bit. Little touches here and there, right? We have too much salt in some places. We have not enough pepper in others. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm grooming everything. But yeah, I am in general working my way from the distance to the foreground. The background now is pretty much finished. I'm considering the sky finished, the background finished. Next comes the water. Just going to lay in, as I say, a little bit of light on this band here. That'll do it. Then we're going to, then I'm probably just going to blot out some of these lines on these evergreens because they're very busy, these young things sitting here. Very busy, It's like a bunch of worms climbed out of the ground and attached themselves to tree trunks. And I need that to be toned down just a bit. That's not a lot of work. That's just, it won't be so difficult. And then we're going to move to the left-hand side. I don't see that the left-hand side needs a lot. In general, well, I shouldn't say that. All of these trunks need a little bit of work. I'd like to introduce a little bit of light, certainly on this one. Maybe a hint of it on this one. This obviously needs organizing. It's all very smudgy, and I've changed things using paint thinner and ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, because I had this very wide sweeping out at the bottom. I'm going to narrow it a little bit from the left-hand side. Didn't like the look of that. If I'm going to have a tree swinging wide at the bottom, going wider at the bottom, I'd like to indicate. I'd actually like to show some roots swinging out from it. But we're not going to do that because I prefer this rocky area. Okay, so we'll be touching the trunks, probably not the greenery, but the trunks with some color, just really getting them a bit organized. Again, it's housekeeping, that's all. This area, this needs a little more organizing too. I've taken some dark colors and re-strengthened the edges and added a little more design into it. I'm going to let a little bit of, indirect sunlight touch it in places. Then we're going to step down. Well, actually, this stump needs a little bit of color too. It's just too blasé. Then I'm going to come into the greens here, and it doesn't need much. Really not much. A few touches. Now, looking at this today, this immediate foreground, I find it interesting. The line's interesting. A bit busy, so we have to tone that down. But I'm also going to warm it up a little bit. I'd like this to be a little more in tune with this. Not these colors, but somewhat in between there and here. This is just, if you take the combination of the very dark rocks and this grassy area here, this grassy knoll behind the rocks, no sniper worth his salt would ever just sit there, so I want to make it more inviting. Anyway, so I'm really truly sort of working my way forward as I do my final work on the canvas. It's going well. It takes a lot of time. Already maybe it doesn't look to you like there are great drastic changes. And I haven't spent a minute laboring over it. I've spent hours laboring over it. But it's decision-making time. The decisions that I'm making now are so much more crucial than the first ones on the painting. Like I say, we bring the painting down, we get the colors in, we wash it in, then we start to paint it. Now we go up, 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 and I'm trying to play my value cards a little more higher value. Trying to raise certain values in different areas of the painting. Not so much chroma, maybe a little bit, but mostly the value. It starts out very dark with a bright area, right? Here especially. And then everything around it, I don't want it dead. I want it to be interesting. And to make it interesting, you need to have light catching different areas of the painting. So that's really what I'm doing. Drew it, washed it in, painted it, well below the values that ultimately will be there. Now I'm working on those values in conjunction with refining things, you know, making the look of trees to be maybe a little bit more natural, maybe a little more sculpted, you know, as in this case where you have light in certain areas fading away to shadow in others. Anyway, I'm just playing with it. It's not going to be finished the next time you see it, because I'm just having too much fun playing all over the place. It's not a huge painting, it's only 24 by 36, but you know, when something is going along very well, yeah, you're really tempted to just keep playing with it, and that's what I'm doing, as long as I don't overwork it, because that's our biggest danger, isn't it? That's a nasty thing. I'm not going to I'm not going to do any zoomies. In fact, I don't even need to. I'll back it up a minute. Just a second. Just give you some idea what it looks like from a bit of a distance. Anyway, it does have a ways to go, guys, but it's coming nicely. Hope you had a great weekend. See you soon.